Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another OCC podcast. I am your host, David Jansen, and joining me today is an extremely massive man, extremely strong man, and that is Cire Brown. How are you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I am extremely pumped to have you on this podcast. We just came off of watching you in an extremely massive show, the strongest arm on earth and stuff. Give us a bit of your background growing up as a child and stuff.
Uh, was never a big kid growing up. I was actually one of the scrawnier kids growing up. Wrestled from when I was about 6 years old all the way through high school. Came into my size probably junior high. About 11, 12 years old, had a growth spurt and weight gain. But I went from being a pencil necked, scrawny little kid to pretty thick boy in junior high. So I probably gained about 50 pounds and grew about 6 inches over a summer and got to be a pretty massive kid. Um, and all through high school, played football, wrestled, cheerleader, track, or field events for track. Pretty athletic kid. Got out of that. Did some mixed martial arts on an amateur circuit for a while. Then jumped into playing semi-pro football and manual labor kid. So just had a strong back, a thick head, and good fortitude. So
Well, that's incredibly awesome and stuff. How did you grow up? Like, what was the area you grew up in, and what were the people around you like that brought this? Obviously, you're mentally strong, physically strong. Give us a bit of background to how you grew up and all that understanding as well. How was your family and stuff?
sure. I mean, this is probably the first time I've ever been so personal. Had somebody ask personal questions like that. I don't mind sharing because everybody has a story. Wasn't the greatest life growing up. Pretty hard. Father passed away when I was two, so my mom raised me and my sister single mom. We had to fight for everything we wanted. There was a pretty long period of time where we didn't have housing, so we had to figure it out. So I'm 41 years old, so you can imagine that was in the late 80s, early 90s. Trying to figure that stuff out as a kid, you get pretty hard. I grew up around a community of Samoans, Polynesians, Poly Islanders, so was confused as being an island boy growing up. I've got really curly hair when it grows out. It's not too nappy. My mom is Norwegian, my dad is Nigerian, so mixed blood there. So size, thickness, um, you know, Africans and beards, they don't really coincide. So um, that's the Nordic side coming through. Yeah, that was the upbringing there. We had to fight for what we needed and tougher life, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think that it's kind of shaped me into the person I am today and pretty hard working, solid, standing, upstanding dude.
So obviously, from a young age, you've learned to work. You've put in probably a lot of hours. And for your, obviously, for how old you are, you've probably worked more than the average person. How can you cope with working so much and stuff, and then also training and being such a strong physical athlete?
Oh, they kind of go hand in hand. One is a way to express oneself. I mean, when I have a hard day at work, I take it out on my weights. I don't take it out on anything else. And then when I have the opportunity to have a target in front of me that I prepare for properly, then they catch the brunt end of it. Um, so it's just channeling that energy to focus it in on training. Um, Not really much else than that.
Very good. So obviously, people have started to see you come into arm wrestling. How did you get a start in arm wrestling? Now, obviously, you are with one of the most well known strength athletes, almost to say of all time in the
Sure.
strongman, anyways. But you've been doing stuff before that, obviously, looking at your physicality and stuff. You're extremely strong. You've already been making a name for yourself in arm wrestling. And now you've got this massive opportunity to train Brian Shaw and train with Brian Shaw. Give us a bit of a background to how you got into such an amazing standing maybe for other people, and but how you've been blessed in that and how it pushes you on.
Sure. Well, I got into arm wrestling. Would say it was early spring of 2022. I was listening to a Devin Larratt podcast, or Lex Friedman podcast. Devin Larratt was the guest on the show. He described arm wrestling as a chess match with your hand. And, so he got intrigued by that, obviously listening to him talk about his preparation for Levon, and how he was the largest man he had ever faced, calling him Mount Everest at the time. And he's proven to be that for Devin the last two times they faced each other. So I got into the sport then. Had never practiced, trained, seen a match, anything like that before then. I did have a brief encounter with a gentleman, awesome guy named Tony Tomlinson, in 2017. I had a flooring store in Estes Park, and one of my clients sourced material from his lumber yard, which was down the road. So I went to pick up that material, and I went in there, and he gripped up with me then, was like, "Hey man, you look like a big dude. You should arm wrestle." And we gripped up there. I'm holding his hand, and I start working, and he's like, "Yeah, you're really strong." And then he just kind of gently pulls me over to the side and pins me and hands me his card. And he's like, "You should come down and train arm wrestling." And I kicked myself in the butt, because hindsight is 2020, right? Because I wound up meeting him again in 2022 at Colorado State, and he was like, "You remember when we gripped up on the table?" And yeah. So it wasn't really something that I had thought about pursuing early on, and I wish I had then. But after the podcast with Devin, I started training pretty hard, watching Derek Smith videos when Derek was in Dubai with Larry Wheels, and all the guys that they had invites out there. So I was watching a lot of that content, implementing a lot of that training, kind of mirroring what I was seeing there, and got with some really good, strong guys here in Colorado. Isaac Luna, phenomenal guy, really small, but he was the one who really got the bug set in my head and made me want to pursue it more, because here he is at 5'2", something like that, 150 pounds, just two giant arms with a body attached to him, and was ripping me all over the table. So I fell in love with the sport, not being able to drive home that night because my elbows were torn up, my shoulders were torn, my hands were gassed. Like, it was just all those things, leading all the way to the point where I had built a name for myself, that I got strong enough opinions of people around me to be recommended to train with Brian Shaw. Derek Smith put that training group together. One of his cohorts, good friend of his, Wes Bjornson, was training with me here in Berthoud with Devil's Backbone Pullers. And he was like, "I've got a couple of guys that are real strong here, local in Colorado." And we wound up going down there and working out. So Derek is the one who introduced me to Brian, and have been working with Brian since June of last year, up until about a month before his match with Brandon Allen. And then he took on having another coach with him, and I was prepping for my match as well. So I haven't worked with Brian in about a month and a half now. So I'm sure he's letting the dust settle. I think he's actually in Canada right now, and then we'll see what happens in the future as we progress forward and get some more matches booked and whatnot. So now, when it comes to training with Brian, you're training with an absolute giant human being. But not only is he just a giant, he's a methodical, driven, hyper focused dude who took the sport extremely seriously, and it helped motivate me in a different way. I suffered an injury early on when we were training together, unrelated to being with Brian. Blew my bicep at a tournament in Wyoming. Had surgery shortly after that. His recommendation on rehab kind of helped produce my arm being twice as strong as it was before the injury. Still stronger since. Leading all the way up to having a super match on the MAC Underground, where I did get a good win on Wayne Withers, and then lost Walls Dilly after that, right-handed. So the right hand is not the left hand. Left hand's been getting a lot of attention lately, but enough to get me a match with Derek Smith, and that was a call-out match. We had to come up with a narrative to make it personal. I don't have anything against Derek, and we did hold hands, but it wasn't enough to pull or anything else. But it was just like, we had our funny guys, we had the antics, and then we needed to have a heel. So I was playing the heel through that match. But training with Brian has been something. It's let me hit PRs that I never thought were possible, because I never cared to lift weights in the capacity that Brian had in the past, or even Brandon Allen. Like, two different sports. One's strongman, the other one's powerlifting, right? And never thought about pursuing anything like that until I started messing with the weights in there and how easy they moved. Just a naturally big, strong, gifted guy. Obviously, I had some mean, aggressive football coaches and wrestling coaches that really drove me to build a strong back. But I never pursued any strength gains until working with Brian and seeing the weight that he was moving, and then going in there and moving the weight too. Not saying that I'm moving any of his crazy astronomical numbers, but he'd look at me after I moved something, and he's like, "God damn," you know. So it's enough for him to be like, "Man, you're strong," or "Dude, your hand's insane," or whatever. Just giving me compliments, side mouth compliments or whatever, because I'm not the traditional strongman or strong, power lifter that walks into the gym. I'm just your average arm wrestler. So yeah, it's just led me down the road of I've got some pretty big numbers, and I'll be competing for a 2,300 total here pretty soon, just to see if I can hit it at 42 years old. Um, so yeah, he motivates me to be stronger, and I'm getting stronger. So
That is a huge number
yeah,
to me, anyways.
sure.
Obviously, probably not the biggest in the world, but that's huge. I've been watching Strongman for many years and been a huge fan of Brian. Obviously, you shared a little bit now of how he encourages you and stuff. Obviously, you're kind of his coach. How does he mentor you in like ways of getting stronger now that you're prepping for this? And what are ways that you see him interact with people around, either coming into arm wrestling or other people that you really think is like he's just are like admire him and stuff, or that other
Sure.
people can learn?
I think that he's I wouldn't say, definitely not a coach, just I would say like a training partner, um, that just had more knowledge than he did when it comes to the sport. Because I don't want to have the stress of that title. um, Nor has he recognized me as such. But I would say that his attitude when it came to any kind of strength gains was just get after it. And I think he lives his be great attitude. His interactions with any person, being that I traveled to Kansas, or not Kansas, Atlantic City, when we had King of the Table 13, watching him interact with fans that were in the airport, where you say yourself that you admired him for so long. He's the guy that stops in the middle of the airport to acknowledge the 5-year-old kid that's just in shock and awe of how big he is walking down the causeway, or the other fan who walks up who's just like, dude, I've been following you forever. He stops for everybody. Like he's a super humble guy, which to me let me know that he was really grounded. And the be great attitude was definitely given to every person that walked past him. He didn't shy away from anybody, even when he's walking with his wife, that people wanted to stop and take pictures. And he's like, cool. He was just super accommodating. And that was also the same way when it came to going into the gym and training with him and stuff. It was like, okay, well, I know you're an arm wrestler. I'm working on getting stronger. So we would work out before we would train, and was just accommodating to me not being as strong as him, right? In certain areas, right, where we arm wrestlers have specific strengths where he hasn't built those up yet, things like that. So his be great attitude, his just get after it attitude, and then just how accommodating he was, letting us all in there. It's not just me. There was Chris Kaufman and Vince Gordon. Raul was there at the beginning. Wes was there through pretty much Christmas. So a lot of the guys, it was just he would bring them in, and we'd all get to try out the new whatever that he thought would be the next pronation powerlifting thing, and which we still agree that some of those lifts are, and I'm not sure if he's still utilizing some of those lifts or the technology that he had built around those lifts. I hope he is, because they're freaking awesome. But he will innovate the sport in a completely different way. His involvement in the sport has been beneficial, in my opinion. He's up the ante in what the standard of quality production is for platforms like East versus West. So they have a pretty big bar to match when it comes to the quality that he was able to help put together. Because they've openly said it, both Robert and Dexter, that his production team and the quality that they put out was just amazing. So I mean, here's his first pro match. Not taking anything away from Eddie, but here's his first pro arm wrestling match, and he's produced it on the greatest stage with the best quality available to any spectator. So um, that also translates to the whole be great attitude, and get after it type attitude. So yeah, it's been great. No pun
Got a
intended.
question. Yeah, be great. Got a question in the chat. Your opinion on former WWE wrestler Mark Henry? Obviously, he's Arnold Classic winner in the past. I think like 2002 or something. Strong man.
Yeah, I
What are
think
your
Mark
thoughts
Henry's
on him?
awesome. I think he's awesome. I think that I would say, if I were to liken myself to any personality, where you just have this behemoth walk on the scene and start grabbing weight, that's kind of where I see myself. Like, Mark Henry didn't come from some pedigree of a bunch of doers before him. He was just a big, strong country boy that grabbed some weight, and people were like, "Holy shit, that dude is strong." And I feel like it's the same for me. I've never gripped any of the stuff that he has, um, but I wouldn't put it past my capability to do so. But Mark Henry's a beast, and hopefully I'll be able to throw some weight up at the Arnold next year. So
That'd be incredible because more than likely he will be there commentating it because he commentates a lot of times the strongman and the powerlifting.
yeah, he's awesome. I'd love to meet him. So
Yeah, incredible. Um, Moving on, what are some of your aspirations going forward? Now, you didn't have obviously the win that you wanted against Derek Smith, but what are some of your aspirations going forward in the sport of arm wrestling?
I'm gonna keep growing and progressing. I already gave my age away. I'm 41. Um, and if you look at the life of an arm wrestler who takes it seriously, you can end up like Todd Hutchings. Where you are a naturally strong, gifted person, and you utilize those attributes and abilities to only get stronger and make your impact even felt greater around the sport. Um, I want to be number one in North America, and then see where I can go after that. It, Considering I've only been doing this for 3 years and like for almost 3.5 years, uh, to be where I'm at right now, I definitely feel blessed. Right, the product of really hard work and being strong and having good people in my corner. The match didn't go the way that I wanted it to, but at the same time, I recognized that I was definitely outclassed. Just wasn't prepared for the hand fight, and for them to allow that to continue. What he gained in the fight, he was able to keep. But watching it back, um, the outcome wouldn't have been much different had I challenged the second round. Um, there were some bobbles and stuff like that, but we let it go. We accept defeat, and I don't cry about it. He was the better man, more prepared, and was able to exploit and keep what he had gained. So I can't take that away from him. He performed, if I were in the same position, flawlessly. Right? He kept everything that he went after, um, and it didn't burn my desire. Had a super match the very next week against Jeremy Parker. Absolutely strong kid. I wanted to test him in a couple of different lanes, and then decided to stick with something I've been working on, which is I have a lot of power in that area, and once it's established, you're not getting through it. So I tested it against Jeremy. So I appreciate the hard work and the fight that we had. He was an amazing athlete and performed extremely well, but that kid is definitely coming up very fast, and we'll see each other again. We didn't have a right hand match just because I didn't want to mess with it being so close to the Shaw Classic, and you never know what you tinge, twing, bang, or mess up, and then somebody else comes along and finishes off that job. So I'm looking forward to pulling in Milwaukee in November, which is an Arnold qualifier. And I've had a couple of people the last time I was on Dexter Tan's channel ask who I wanted to pull next. I'm kind of wanting to pull whoever wins the match between Philip Larson and Wayne Withers. Um, I know Wayne is preparing really hard for that match. Wayne was it was the first pro arm wrestler that I had ever met out of super heavyweight, and then Paul Passmore, and that was in Arizona. So it was kind of cool, serendipitous to take a picture, with Wayne Withers from 2022, and then put it next to him, competing on the same table with him, literally 3 years to the date later. So it was really cool. And then I got the victory there, so it was awesome. But I would like to do something like that. Like I like Mac Tables, I like Ian Carnegie or the Crippler, so that would be fun. And then I also want to pull like Michael Ford. Met him, really good dude, good energy. Um, so outside of that, like I've had a lot of people who call me out and stuff, but just like any other arm wrestler, we all know that we put a lot of money, blood, sweat, and tears into supporting ourselves and growing our brand. And if the match doesn't make sense, I'm not going to mess with it. So I let promotions kind of decide and dictate what I'm going to do next, right-handed. But those are the guys that I'm looking at. Had some fun with Rickard Borman, left-handed. That was pretty cool. I actually wouldn't mind a match with Brad Grundy. We messed around a little bit, even Mega Mike. So those guys are all ahead of me in different ratings and all really strong guys, a lot of experience. But um, messing with him, gave me a feel for like, oh, okay, this could be a good match potentially down the road. So it's just forward. It's to progress, learn more, get stronger, be better. So that's where we're at.
We got a question here. He corrected himself right under. Cire, who was your toughest opponent that you faced in arm wrestling and why?
Toughest opponent. The toughest opponent I would say I faced was Wallace Dilly. Um, and that was right after my super match with Wayne Withers. But that was one where I didn't matter where I went, how I loaded, what I did, there was just nothing. And when you don't have data to take home and improve on outside of just get fucking stronger, right? Like that was one that lives in my head rent free. Wallace is an absolute awesome dude, great human being, love his wife. They're really good people. But that was one that I'm like, okay, well, we need to go do some training together, just for the sake of data. And it doesn't matter if he holds anything back or if he keeps doing the same shit. I have to figure out where I can stop, slow him down, or whatever. But he's one that, in my opinion, is rising to the top. I know he had a war with Richard Borman, and I know that he would love to run that back. That was a crazy match to watch and great energy, great attitude. But I know he wants that back, and he's somebody who I'd like to see climb for North America. Just a really good dude. So that's the one, and it. There's nothing that I begrudge him for. Same as Derek Smith, but that was just a technique exploit thing. It wasn't a strength thing. With Wallace, that's a strength thing. I wouldn't mind seeing Wallace and Derek go at it. That would be a good match.
But
He's got enough IQ. Yeah.
I was gonna ask, who do you think wins between them?
I think that Derek's attitude right now, he is in the best shape he has ever been in his entire career. Um, he had more moxie, more fire in that match than he's had in any of his matches. So he definitely came in prepared for that. And the person that I felt with Wallace, watching him compete against Marcio Barbosa, Jordan Sill, Paul Passmore, just watching what he was doing there. Because Wallace is more active, I would give that to Wallace. I would say 60-40 Wallace. But that would be an amazing match. That would be a really good match.
So we got another question. We did touch on it already. Maybe you can just quickly tell them.
Sure. Yeah, again, it was 2022, February 2022 when I found out about arm wrestling, just on a broader scale. And I didn't start until March of 2022. So I found a Facebook group here in Colorado under Colorado Arm Sports and started practicing with Isaac Luna and a couple other guys, Mark Metzger and Charlie Soproni. Just really good people.
So I was going to, at the end, ask some questions, but you kind of touched on it with the upcoming match at MAC 4 between Philip Larson and Wayne Withers. It's for the MAC title. How do you see that match going? Obviously, you've faced Wayne Withers and you've seen Philip Larson up close, very likely pulled with them. How do you see a match like that going? You have the win on Wayne Withers, but he also has said that he's never trained as hard as he did for this upcoming one that he has against
Absolutely
Philip Larson.
I think that Philip is a hand dominant top roll arm wrestler. So is Wayne Withers. And I think that if Philip shuts Wayne's hand down, it's over. It's Philip's. If Wayne can maintain his hand, that's a damn good fight because you're looking at two levers that are extremely long. I think that's what gave Matt Mask the biggest trouble was the fact that he's facing somebody with such a nice long lever, and he's a hand dominant arm wrestler that the way Philip Larson arm wrestles was able to take and neutralize Matt Mask's hand, which is what makes Matt so lethal. So if he can do that to Wayne, then the match is his. But it's the same as if Wayne can do that to Philip and prevent him from keep controlling his hand, then it's Wayne's. So I don't care who wins that match. Um, I would like to see Wayne Withers continue to be dominant on the Mac platform. I think that he's a great puller, and just his time in the sport, he deserves to be at the top. But you gotta realize that when you're at the top, you're the target, and people like Philip are hungry. Philip is an amazing dude, super super great attitude, absolutely hilarious. He's a showman, has the right attitude for the sport. So I'd like to see him continue to progress, and that means progressing through somebody that I have a lot of respect and admiration for. So I'm going to say that it's 50-50. Whoever controls the hand is going to be dominant, because once the hand is figured out, it's a wrap. So
Yeah, I personally think that Wayne Withers maybe has a little more experience, but Philip Larson seems to be more technical already at this stage. He seems extremely technical. Obviously, he has extremely good coaches and stuff. In Giannis Amolins from Latvia, I think is his main coach, and then he's practiced with a bunch of other very elite arm wrestlers, and I think that's definitely helped him get to such a stage so quickly.
definitely, and it's only going to help him further. I mean, he's younger. I think that Philip's mid 30s, and he's not a one trick pony. But I know. Well, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say that he has really good fundamental understanding of his hand and how important that leverage and keeping that leverage is. Um, I don't think that Wayne or Philip, if it goes into a hook, that would probably make it the most entertaining. Two big, long spider arms hooking would be a pretty awesome match, especially on a mag table. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a battle of height and back pressure, and whoever can capitalize the most. It's interesting to know because Giannis is his primary coach, and Giannis is a low hand top roll wizard, right? And Philip is a high knuckle, high back pressure top roll, right? So he doesn't dump the wrist down. He doesn't work on keep controlling anything on those low points. He works on maintaining everything in the height going up. Um, so it's going to be a good match. Wayne is maintained center, keeps high knuckle index to keep you away from getting any kind of control on his anchor point in the back, and he straight side and with a little bit of fall. And I wasn't able to keep his hand at the top, but I caught him on the bottom. And when I caught him on the bottom, it was a pop to see where I could take it. And I took his hand and gave it up on the first round, but looked at Bob Brown and was like, "Nope, it's a wrap," and stopped him the next two times and took him back over. So we'll see where um, we'll see where Philip goes with it. I don't see Philip being an outside top roller, so I don't think he's going to catch if he doesn't have it. I think he might kind of punch up and take the foul to recollect, and then try neutralizing the hand.
Yeah, I think it'll be very much whoever loses their riser and stuff will be the one on the losing end very quickly because both of them tend to. I think, especially Wayne Withers, he doesn't have an answer for a sticky point at the bottom. So, like, if he's almost pinning someone, he's got no answer to it. If he can't pin, I
Yep.
watched that with Rick Heidebrick on when he got the title match. He struggled on the one round when Rick kind of gave up his hand right at the bottom like this, and he just couldn't pin him. And then I seen the match with you where you stopped him right at the bottom, and he had no answers for it. You literally could like almost
Yeah.
rest it looked like. It looked like once you just got it there, you're just like hanging out like, yo, what's up? And
Yeah. And I'm not the guy. I don't showboat. So even with it, I respect Derek if he was just overall strong and then decided to toy with me. I don't like playing with people. I don't. I just get it over with, call it good. When you sit there and toy with somebody, it's you're attacking them at a completely different level, different like I don't know, not a fan of it. So when I caught Wayne, I was like, no, we're not. I could sit there and I'm not. I would never do that to anybody. Let's just get this over with. This I caught you, you're mine. So
so you just came off of a right hand you lost, and then you went straight into the next week and had a left hand super match, right? Is Jeremy Parker, is
yep,
that Michael Todd's training partner?
yeah, yeah. And Jeremy, we were on a podcast. He joined us. I was with Dave Schwartz or Daniel Schwartz. I can't remember his co interviewer, but yeah, and Jeremy Parker jumped on that call, and we were chopping it up, talking back and forth. I told him that I felt very confident. I had two respectable losses on the left. I lost to Leroy Walker on the left at Bicep Bash, which was a interesting match, and it was a really awesome time. Just all the people that we were around. If you were a wrestling fan, like not arm wrestling but wrestling fan, it was awesome. Hanging out with Scott and Rick Steiner and Ron Simmons, and yeah, just being around that eclectic group of people was really cool. So hats off to Leroy, he got that. And then I pulled Nicholas Moat after that in Oregon, and that kid, when his left comes back, he's going to be somebody special. He's dropping down to the 220 weight. I told him he needs to call out Artem Taranenko. I think it'd be a great match for him, and he's going to be between 198 and 220. But when we pulled, he was like 265, so he's lost quite a bit of weight very quickly. But very strong kid. I have to give up a lot to a shorter arm wrestler, so I'm being a little bit more selective on who I'm picking to arm wrestle. When you're that short, you're giving up so much of your own leverage, and he's a powerhouse. He's a strong kid. We pulled right-handed, and it was more like, okay, well, you can do what you want to, and then bring you back over respectfully. But left-handed, he was definitely a monster. So leaving that, we stayed in communication, man, for a solid month, talking probably every other day, and he also helped in my motivation to get back to training the left because I didn't want it to be just a fun party arm or whatever. So then Jeremy Parker had called me out. Was originally supposed to be a right and left hand match, but because I had the match week before Colorado State, we can't. Um, and I focused on training the left, and I wanted to test a couple areas. Going to King's move, that's a natural thing, is because I don't have the speed, and with the left, and then I started going inside. So it was a good match. I won that one 3-1. Did win on, I think I got two of them on fouls. But it was because he couldn't stop. As soon as I went to jam inside, he couldn't control me coming forward and pushing into his hand. So had he planted, it would have went straight to the pad. Potentially could have been really bad for him, like injury wise. So it was a smarter decision to not absorb the hit and try and contain it, which he wasn't able to. So, but Jeremy Parker he's doing really well. He's getting really strong. He's training with Michael Todd, and he's fast. So Jeremy's coming up. He's going to get down to the 242. So when he does, those guys better watch out.
No, that's incredible. Obviously, that was that was a big tournament also that you were at and stuff. Where can people find you to either follow your journey, to all your social medias, or however they can find you?
On Instagram and TikTok, it's Legend KTR, which I think is the same handle for Facebook as well, but also my name's Cire Brown. It'll bring me up on all three platforms. And then my YouTube channel is Devil's Backbone Pullers or Cire Brown Arm Wrestling. So Cire Brown AW on YouTube. So Legend KTR for TikTok, Instagram, Cire Brown Facebook, and Devil's Backbone Pullers on YouTube.
Give a shout out to all your fans. Tell them whatever you have, last words and stuff.
All right. To my wife who's back home taking care of all of her babies, I love you. That's Chantel. I just started a new hitch, so I'm gone for the next 18 days or whatever, and she's holding down the fort. So my heart goes out to her. She's got a lot to carry with all 5 of our babies. And they're not fur babies, these are our baby babies. So she's got to get them up every day and take them to school. So she's amazing, and she's my favorite person in the world. Shout out to my team, Devil's Backbone Pullers. Love you guys. Sorry, I'm not there to whoop on you over the next couple of weekends, but we'll make up for it when we get back. I'll let you put on bands and everything. And to any promoters that want to have me, I'm definitely going to come back a lot smaller, but stronger. So I'll get a lot of dedication and time into training into this heat. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. So thank everybody. I thank everyone who's tuned in onto your channel, David. And thank you very much for having me on. I respect it and appreciate it.
It's been a huge pleasure having you on this evening. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for commenting, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and we'll be seeing you next Tuesday.
Awesome.